Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. So I have not done one of these in quite a while, so I figured it would be a good time to do an updated bookshelf tour. The last time I did a bookshelf tour was right after we completed this room and got the shelves up and all of the books up, and it looks quite a bit different than it did at that time. I have changed some of the organizational things. I have added and gotten rid of a lot of books, so it just looks a bit different now. So I thought it would be really fun to update my bookshelf tour and show you around my bookshelves. First off, I want to give a little overview of how I organize my shelves these days. So the broad organization is, first up I divide fiction and nonfiction, then from fiction I divide that into children's, YA, and then a couple different subcategories of fiction. I also just have a general fiction section at the bottom of my shelves. For nonfiction, I separate that out by topic and subgenre. I also have essay collections and memoirs in their own sections. So all of my children's books are on top, then that goes into YA. I also have a separate section for graphic novels. So I tend to try to keep genre sections apart, but when it comes to just general fiction, I don't separate exactly by genre. So we'll be going section by section, talking about the section and pulling out a couple of books that I want to share specifically, as well as talking about the different decor items that I have on my shelves. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so first let's talk about the top shelf. So this shelf is very high up and out of frame, so I will put a couple clips to show you a little closer up. But on this shelf, I have all of my children's books. So I have picture books, I have children's nonfiction, and I also have some middle grade books. So it also has all of my American Girl books as well, which is just so fun. I got them out of storage recently and put them up because I just thought it would be so much fun to have them, you know, available if I want to look at them. And they carry a lot of like childhood nostalgia for me, so it's really nice to have them up on my shelves again. Okay, so now to the shelves we can actually see on frame. First up, we have this shelf that starts with my Wings of Fire collection. So Wings of Fire is a middle grade series that my husband and I have been very into for several years now. There hasn't been a new book that's come out in quite a while, so we've kind of taken a break from it. But we have quite a few Wings of Fire books. This is part of my collection. I have the whole series in paperback and then some of the series in hardcover, and Sean, my husband, also has some paperbacks in his bookshelf as well, because we bought the books twice because we were long distance at the time. This is pretty cool though. I have a signed placard from the author T. Sutherland. So I was actually able to participate in this kind of meet and greet Zoom call with T. Sutherland, and as part of the tickets you got a special copy of the book and a signed placard. So I have that, and this was sort of like the special cover of the book, and it's like a paper kind of cover, and then there's like the regular cover underneath, and she also signed it on the inside as well. And then that section transitions into my graphic novels, because Wings of Fire is getting turned into graphic novels as well. So right now there's 1 through 8. Those are all graphic novels, and then that transitions into my graphic novel section. I only have a couple of graphic novels, but they're all ones that are particularly meaningful or special to me, so I like to have them. This one I wanted to point out particularly. This is Blankets by Craig Thompson. It is a massive book, but it is a black and white style of art, and it basically is a like memoir in graphic novel form, and it talks about Craig Thompson's experience with Christianity and indoctrination and purity culture, and how he kind of came of age in all of that, and his deconstruction. So it is a very meaningful and important book in my life, and I've read it several times. It is just such a poignant and profound story, and I love the format of it being a graphic novel as well. So that is Blankets. And then the other one I wanted to point out is this one called Here. So this is actually the story of one house, and it's from the same angle in all of the images, and it shows all these different timelines. So everybody who lived in and around the house, before and after it was even like built. So here you see like the interior of the house, and then where the house stood in 10,000 BCE. So it shows all different things that happened in the house, all the different people who lived in the house. And this was actually turned into a movie recently with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. But yeah, I wanted to point out those two graphic novels. These are my favorite. Okay, moving right along, next up we have my YA section. So I only have a couple of books in this category because honestly, I'm not much of a YA reader anymore, and I really just didn't keep many of the books that I had as a teen just because I knew that I wasn't going to reread them. And also, I don't really have a ton of books from when I was a teen. I think I mostly did library books in that kind of YA section of my life, and anything that I did have I didn't really keep, like, you know, Harry Potter, Twilight, those things. I'm pretty sure I got rid of them because I knew that I probably wasn't going to get to them again. That being said, I have the first book of Graceling, which was a really fun series that my best friend and I read together. It was one of her favorites. She bought this for me for my Sweet 16, I believe, the first one, and then we read all three. And the second two books in the trilogy got so beaten up and damaged because I took them in my backpack, and I just used to throw these books into my bag and they got absolutely demolished. But that being said, I did not keep the other two because they were so torn up, but I did keep this one because this one was still in pretty good condition, and honestly this is probably the only one that I would reread out of the three, so that's why I kept it. I also have this set of the Hunger Games books. So yeah, they look like this. They're just the all black editions, and I was really glad to have the box set because it just, I don't know, it felt really special to have a box set of one of my favorite series. I tried my best to keep these as pristine as possible, and then I lent them to someone and they cracked the spines, and I was pissed. I also have Sunrise on the Reaping, which is the most recent Hunger Games book. I had The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes as well, but I got rid of it because I didn't love it. And now I feel kind of sad about that because it would be nice to have the whole entire set, but I just didn't think I would ever reread it, and I'm not one to keep books around if they're not favorites, which is great in some ways, but comes back to bite me whenever I want to talk about a book or, you know, something else comes out and then I don't have the complete set. I also want to point out that I have multiple copies of The Fault in Our Stars, including this mini copy and then this really torn up paperback copy. This is the one that I have annotated like crazy. It is just full of notes and underlines and lots of little, you know, marks and things in the margins. And this is the one that I mainly actually physically read. And then I have two copies, the hardcover copies, because I bought one and was given one. So I have multiple copies of The Fault in Our Stars. In terms of decor in this section, I do actually have this wine bottle for my 21st birthday. So fun fact, my family actually put on a Fault in Our Stars themed 21st birthday bash for me. So it was just my now husband and I when we were dating, and we like sat down for dinner just as Gus and Hazel did. So my mom bought me a blue dress like Hazel's mom buys for her, and my whole family basically created this 5-course meal that was in the book in Amsterdam, and we sat down and we enjoyed the meal together, and it was super, super special. But this was my first, you know, taste of alcohol, was this very fancy champagne, and my dad got it engraved and it says, "Enjoy tasting the stars." So that is what the bottle looks like, and it was super special, and luckily it actually does fit on this shelf so I can keep it here. I also have this little jar of stars. It is a jar of stars made from book pages from The Fault in Our Stars, and a coworker of mine when I used to work at the library in New York made a bunch of these, and I took one home when I left that job. So I have it now, and it lives on my bookshelf with my other Tiffio stuff. Okay, finally up in this corner section of the shelf, we have my essay collections, poetry, and then some kind of miscellaneous self-help / astrology and tarot themed things. So for poetry, I have a stack here that includes Mary Oliver, William Carlos Williams, and Wendy Cope. So a couple of my favorite poets. And then I have a couple of essay collections, including this one by Maggie Nelson. This is Bluets. I read this for college, actually. It was for one of my college classes, I think on creative nonfiction. And I marked up this one a lot as well because it was for college, so I needed to annotate, but also I really, really loved and connected with this book. And I haven't read it since college, so I kind of want to reread it. It was really, really special. So this is an essay collection basically about the color blue and all of the associations that Maggie Nelson has with the color. And I really just need to reread it to refresh my memory on it, but that is one that I wanted to point out. As well as Dead Weight by Emmeline Klein. I actually just finished this one recently, and I had listened to it on audio, but I actually bought it to mark it up and to use in a future video. So it is about, it's an essay collection about hunger and harm, and talks a lot about disordered eating and body image, and it is very intense, but I really, really loved this one. I gave it 5 stars, so I figured I would point this one out since it's a new addition to my book collection as well. And then I have some tarot and astrology things, like I said, including some actual like decks of cards. So this one is Enchanted Blossoms, and it's all different dragons as different butterflies, and it's very cool. So all the cards look a little bit like this. I'll show you here. This one is an oracle deck, and the artwork is so, so pretty. I have several oracle decks and tarot decks, and I just keep them on my bookshelf with the other astrology and tarot related books I have. So that is the second shelf. Okay, moving down to this shelf now, I have a couple of decor items on this side. So I have this little bud vase of dried straw flower. So these straw flowers I got from a local flower farmer in Missouri. These dry super, super well and maintain their color, so I just kept them in this bud vase to put on my bookshelf. I also just have another little like vintage jar. This is like a green glass bottle, and I always try to go and find various jars and bottles and things, as well as mugs, when I am at antique stores and thrift stores. That's like my favorite thing, to look for little like vessels and containers. So I always try to find like colored glass things too, because I think they're so pretty. So this section here is all of my memoirs. I've been really, really into memoirs recently and have been growing this collection. So Exit Interview is a newish addition to my collection, and I read it this year. It was one of my favorite books I've read so far this year. So such a great and insightful book about Amazon and working at Amazon. The other one I wanted to point out was In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This one is actually signed, and it's personalized for me because I met Carmen Maria Machado at a literary event where she was, you know, doing a book signing and also reading aloud from one of her books. So I brought the books that I had of hers for her to sign, and this is also one of my favorite books of all time and probably my favorite memoir. So just wanted to point that one out. I also do want to point out this little model here that is separating my floral section and my memoir section. This is something that my husband and I kind of put together, and it's just a little cute little plant room, a reading room. It's got a lamp. You can turn the light on and off, which is really, really cool. So it's just a nice little nook to have kind of in the bookshelf. Okay, next up I have a section that is all of my flower and plant books, because if you didn't know, I am a floral designer and I own my own business now, which is so wild and crazy, but I've been doing that for about a year now, so it's a new thing, but I've been basically diving headlong into everything flower related and learning as much as I possibly can. I'm also a plant lover. I have a bunch of houseplants, and so those are some really important interests and passions in my life. So I have a couple of books related to those things. This is one of the quintessential books for floral designers. I feel like it's the Flower Color Guide, and it has all different types of flowers in it, and it shows you like the different colors of each of the flowers so that you can sort of plan for what color scheme you want to use and what flowers you want to use to fit into different color schemes. And I have tabbed things with different seasons and things that I want to use. So this is a great resource, as well as this one. This is by the same company, and this is Flower Color Theory, and this one shows different designs with different color palettes, so it helps you kind of get an idea of what palettes to use together. together and an example of some designs. I also want to mention this behemoth that I have facing out on my bookshelf because it's so pretty. This is Plantopedia. This is a big encyclopedia type thing of all different types of plants. So it has the plant type and then a description and care tips and things like that. And it's honestly just a beautiful coffee table book, but I just have it in here because, you know, I like having all of my books in the same place, but it just shows all different types of plants and their care instructions. So very informative book, but I also just love to look at it. It also has the most gorgeous end papers ever. Oh my gosh, so pretty. Okay, and moving on down the shelf, now we have all of the nonfiction books that I have. So I have some plant-related ones as well as some just miscellaneous. And then I also have my largest section, which is all women's issues. So I have things about women's health care. I have things about women authors. So lots of different things here, but a couple things I wanted to point out. The two books I have facing out are Monster, She Wrote, The Women Who Pioneered Horror and Speculative Fiction. This also has gorgeous end papers and beautiful art throughout. It's a very, very beautiful kind of coffee table book, but I do actually want to read this cover to cover eventually. So I have it facing out because it's so pretty. I also have Literary Witches facing out. This is actually also an oracle deck, but the book comes with the deck. But basically it just showcases all different women writers and how they contributed in some way to the literary canon, and it talks about the magic that these women writers contributed. Okay, moving into the final section on this shelf, we have my Shakespeare collection. So I just want to point out a couple of my little decor things I have here. So this is actually just a little test thing that my husband made for me way before we were even dating, but he was basically playing around with his 3D printer and the way that it can basically etch and burn designs into wood. So he was planning on making me a coaster set, and he just gave me this little test block, and this is actually, you know, a piece of art that I drew, just something like random that I drew that he was going to turn into coasters for me. So I've kept this all this time because it's just kind of special that he made this for me, and he's like, it's just a random block of wood, like why did you keep that? I'm like, it's special. I also have this funny card of Shakespeare that is a Christmas card from my mom, which is kind of funny. But I kept this because I just thought it was funny and had to keep it with my Shakespeare collection. I also sort of randomly have this drawing model hand from when I was in college and was taking, you know, lots of art classes and wanted to work on drawing hands. I'm still pretty obsessed with hands, even though I don't draw them anymore, hence the hand earrings and various other hand jewelry that I have, but I just thought it would be fun to display this since I really don't have any other use for it at the moment. And my Shakespeare collection essentially consists of the Pelican Shakespeare editions of his plays. This is the sonnets, for example, but I have lots and lots of his plays, which a lot of them are read, but some of them I still do need to read, though I feel like I need to be in the right headspace to literally read Shakespeare. So even though I really enjoy Shakespeare and have historically been very into him, I do tend to need to be in the right headspace. So a lot of these are still unread, but it's really nice to have a collection of them because they've lasted this long. They're pretty much timeless, so it's really nice to have them. And yeah, I love the Pelican editions. They're great. Okay, so moving down to the next shelf, we have basically a whole subsection shelf here. So it starts off with all of my short story collections, but first I want to point out a couple of decor things. So this is just this really cute planter. I have all of these dried scabiosa pods, which are so cool, and I didn't really have another place for them, so I just cut them down and put them into this vase, and now it's a cute little end of the shelf decor item. And holding everything up on the side is this little secret garden vase. It's supposed to be for flowers, but it is a storage method for all of my bookmarks. This was actually a gift from my mother-in-law, but I thought it would be a perfect little container for all of my bookmarks that I have. I have so many that I've either made, have been given to me from different bookstores that I have gone to. This one, for example, is from Blackwell's, which I order books from occasionally if they're only available in the UK. So various types of bookmarks in here, but that is a cute little storage method for them. I also have this cute little thrifted jug. It's got a couple of different colors on it. It's got like a cork in the top, and I don't use this for anything but as decor, but it's just super cute. And I just love these type of ceramics that have the two tones on them. So I found this at a thrift store for like $3, so I thought it would be a cute little decor item. And I also have this teeny tiny paper crane. I don't know if you can see that. It's just this little tiny red crane that somebody made for me, and it's just adorable. So I just keep it here, and somehow it has made it through moving 1,500 miles and ended up back on the shelf. So that is a win, because it's the tiniest little thing, and it made it all the way here. So pretty cool. But yeah, this is my short story collection section. I try to keep all of the short story collections here except for ones that are translated, which end up in the translated section. With the subsection thing, there's always like a section that kind of trumps the other ones. So anything that's translated goes in the translated section. Doesn't matter what genre it is, doesn't matter if it's short stories, it always goes in the translated section. I have fought with myself on a little bit. It's nice to keep authors together across different genres, but I think ultimately it's nice to have a short story subsection so I can see what short story collections I have and they don't get sort of mixed in with general fiction. Next up on the shelf, I have my Shirley Jackson section. So Shirley Jackson is an author that I discovered in college, and I read The Lottery, her short story that's very famous, for the first time in a English class. I think it was like English 102 or something, and I fell in love with her. And then from there, I just studied her a lot in college. I wrote about her a lot when I had to write different papers about authors. So I just fell in love with her, and I started reading her novels as well, and she became a favorite for me. So I started collecting all of her novels that I could find, as well as other literature surrounding her. So for example, I have a book that's The Letters of Shirley Jackson. This was compiled, I believe, by her son. It's all different letters that Shirley wrote. I have the most famous biography of Shirley Jackson. This is A Rather Haunted Life by Ruth Franklin. I used this in one of my papers. I was doing a research paper about Shirley Jackson, and I used this as one of my primary sources. I also have some special editions of her most famous books. I have We've Always Lived in the Castle and The Haunting of Hill House. They both have beautiful deckled edges and just gorgeous art on the front and back covers. So I absolutely love these two books. These are my favorite of her books. And also, yeah, I have some really pretty editions of them too. I also do have the graphic novelization of her short story, The Lottery. This was done by her grandson, which is pretty cool. The art style is very different than a lot of other graphic novels that I have read, and it's just really nice to, you know, have this version of the story. So all of her books are together, all of the things related to her together, even though it's not all fiction. And the last section on this shelf is all of my translated books. So this spans all different countries and languages of origin. We start off with all of the Spanish, Latin American stories. I have this version of Love in the Time of Cholera, which I read with my best friend, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It has these full page spreads of art in it. So pretty. This book I did enjoy, but I think I just keep it around because the art is so amazing and the cover is so amazing. So I keep it facing out because it's just such a beautiful book. I have a collection of books published by Charco Press. This is really one of the only publishers that I specifically go to a publisher and look what they have. I think it's just because it's a small kind of specialty publisher. So most of the time I just see a book and I buy it and I'm like, oh, I don't really care who it's published by. But Charco Press, I do tend to, you know, go and search specifically for their books. I have a lot of books by Argentinian authors here, including all of Mariana Enriquez's current books. So I just finished reading A Sunny Place for Shady People, actually. This is her third short story collection, and I just went ahead and bought Our Share of Night, which is her novel, her first ever novel. And this was translated and published in the US a little bit ago, and just I haven't gotten around to it because it's kind of a bigger book, and so I'm a little intimidated by it, but I love her, and I'm sure that I'm gonna love this too, so I did end up buying it. And I also just wanted to point out, I have Tender is the Flesh, and I just finished this and immediately went out and bought the rest of her books. I have her short story collection, 19 Claws and a Blackbird, and the newest book, The Unworthy. So yeah, very much obsessed with this author right now, and very excited to read these two, but love Tender is the Flesh. So after all of my like Spanish and Latin American books, I kind of transitioned into a miscellaneous section where I have some French, German, and Icelandic, and then I move into my Asian translated literature. So I have a Korean section and a Japanese section at the moment, and that is my translated section. Okay, so the final shelf on my bookshelf is my general fiction section. So starting off over here, I just have some miscellaneous things. I have some journals and notebooks, and I also have my book sleeves here, so if I need to take a book somewhere, I can use that. And then I have this little bowl here, and right now it's kind of just got like miscellaneous things in it, but it's a very pretty bowl. It's got this like beautiful interior design here. So it looks like that inside. It's a handmade ceramic piece that I got. I think it like a art kind of pop-up or artisan pop-up, but I keep that, and this is kind of a place that I keep just miscellaneous random things. I have some business cards, I have some stamps, I have some stickers, things like that. So this is just sort of a landing place for like miscellaneous little things, but I keep it on my shelf here. And then here is the TBR container. This has all the slips of paper with all the books in my TBR. And this is where I pluck pieces of paper from for my TBR takedown. So essentially this section is just general fiction. There's no order to it in terms of genre. It's just alphabetized on the bottom here. So really this is mostly literary fiction and weird fiction, because that's pretty much all I read. So that is this whole section here. Decor wise, I also have these two little bunnies on the shelf. This is a 3D printed bunny, and this is a little stone like crystal bunny. So I'll show you here. This is just a little crystal kind of stone bunny that a friend gave me. Super cute, but I just keep them together. And the only other decor thing I have on the bottom shelf is just another bud vase of some dried flowers. These are dried allium. I will point out a couple of newly purchased books that I haven't talked about yet on my channel. This one is I Want to Go Home But I'm Already There by Royson Lanigan. I have not read this yet, but it sounded really interesting. It's kind of haunted house-ish, though I ordered it from Blackwell's in the UK, and it came in this giant paperback, and it just doesn't feel amazing. So that kind of put me off from reading it. I'm weird like that. I feel like if a book doesn't feel amazing, then I'm not excited to read it anymore. But that is this one. And another recent purchase is Friends of the Museum by Heather McGowan. So the artwork of this one is just great. I really love the artwork here. But yeah, haven't read this one yet either. It's kind of a bigger and more intimidating book as well, but I was really excited about the premise, so I purchased this recently when it came out. And that is my general fiction section. Okay, so that concludes the bookshelf tour. I love these shelves. I love the way that this is organized. I feel so much better about the way that it looks now that I've kind of reorganized it and gotten things to a better place. I did a massive unhaul recently. I hauled a bunch of books that I was more excited about and reorganized this whole area. And I feel really, really good about it. So I just wanted to be able to share that with you. And I really hope that you enjoyed the tour. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.